AIM-listed recruitment firm Empresaria operates in 19 countries, including the UK, Finland and Germany, plus a wide range of Asian and Middle Eastern markets. The specialist staffing group tends to focus on finance, IT and retail, which in investor speak, of course, means they're not heavily exposed to the oil market, which has dragged down so many other sectors this year. Earnings per share are expected to be around 17% higher this year than last. CEO Joost Kroelen and Spencer Reeford, the Finance Director, are both here now. Well, look, thanks, gentlemen, for coming in. Let's start with you, Joost. Let's give me a bit of background. What do you do? Where are you doing it?
Okay, so the group was started back in 1996 in the UK. We built up a portfolio of specialized operating staffing companies. In 2004, we were listed in AIM, and we designed a strategy to cross-border our business outside of the UK into the emerging markets, which is specifically the emerging markets as far as the staffing industry is concerned, which kind of led to a position where we are today with 19 brands operating in 20 different countries across 6 sectors, focused on specialist and professional staffing, and very much designed and positioned to meet the global challenges of talent shortages in the market.
So it's a real international outlook, and to develop that, Spencer, tell me how you're fixed financially, how you've had to go to market, what you've done to get the funds to do what you want to do.
Yeah, well, the group grew originally with a lot of acquisitions and startups, and then after the financial crash that stopped for a while, and we've started that again last year in 2014 with a couple of small investments. And then that's grown again this year with a larger investment in the US, our first kind of getting into that market, first entry there. We've been using a mixture of debt finance and also raising capital. So this year we raised 10% of new equity and raised just over £3 million, getting in some new shareholders as well as being supported by existing shareholders. We've also had a new debt facility provided by our group banker, HSBC.
So a busy year in terms of fundraising and also in terms of acquisitions. So you touched on that there, Spencer. It's pharmaceutical strategies. Dipping your toe into US markets, is this a new focus for you? Is this where you see the future for the company?
Well, it's interesting because the US market is a very attractive market. It's the largest staffing market in the world. But the reason why we're in the US is basically because we made our investment in the healthcare sector. So the healthcare sector and the IT sector are the 2 sectors that show the strongest growth for the staffing industry, and they're 2 sectors that happen to be part of the 6 sectors that we focus on. So we believe that increasing our presence in the healthcare sector is important for our shareholders, for the investors, and for the growth of the group as such. The US healthcare staffing sector is growing very strong on the back of the Affordable Care Act, which is also known as Obamacare, which gives access to 30 million Americans into healthcare programs, and that as such creates a huge demand for healthcare professionals. And that's exactly where the acquisition that we made, the investment we made in the US is positioned in.
So a huge opportunity for you there in the US. And well, that's the strategy behind it, the thinking. What about money? What's it going to earn you revenue-wise? Or is it just a case of making your mark in a new market?
Well, it's a number of factors. Our whole strategy is to be diversified and balanced across our sectors and across geographies. So this helps us enter a new geography with the US, but also strengthens our healthcare sector. So that's really important for us. It's also focused on professional staffing, which is the area that we're focused on, really growing that proportion of the business. And also it's 100% temporary recruitment. So that's good to generate top line growth as well as bottom line profits.
So you talk about this being 100% temporary staffing. It's also in the healthcare sector, which is fast growing and exciting space to be. What else are you doing to bolster yourself? Because it's a cyclical business, isn't it, recruitment?
Yes.
So how are you going to weather tough economic times?
If you look at the Empresaria business model, it's operating in 6 different sectors, so we're not relying on one specific sector. Some sectors go up and some sectors go down. If you're diversified over sectors, you're kind of protected against these effects. And furthermore, we're operating in 19 different countries. And all these countries also have multi-speed economies. So you could say that Empresaria has a natural hedge against the volatility in the markets. and therefore is diversified, yeah, and well balanced to continue the development and the growth.
So that diversification really helps you. You looked like you were going to chip in there.
As I say, it's also about developing the scale of the brands, and really, our focus is on organic growth as well as a few acquisitions. But that's really important for us to grow the businesses that we've got, develop those brands so that they're stronger, they're able to have the scale of operations across different jurisdictions, and that way that's a much stronger position to weather any downturns, but also to take a better share of the market.
Now look, I know you haven't got a crystal ball, but you must have plans for 2016 and beyond.
Sure,
what is your
absolutely.
outlook? What do you think is going to be happening in the market, and what will that mean for Empresaria?
So we do see the UK market and the US markets look pretty good and pretty strong in 2015, and also to continue in 2016. The European markets were exposed to the German market in Europe, and the German market is the better market, I would say. Very big market, strong market, and also a market with a lot of growth potential, as the German market is relatively immature from a staffing industry perspective. So for us, a very good opportunity to develop and grow our business over there as well.
What about the emerging markets? Any interest there?
In the emerging markets, we are very happy with the investments that we've made over the past years, covering the Southeast Asian and the Asian Pacific region as a whole. We have a focus on further developments in the Latin American markets, and we're looking at countries like Peru and Colombia, after we made investments earlier in Mexico City and in Chile.
You've talked about growth from an organic point of view as well as acquisitions. I'm just wondering if investors should be looking out for any milestones, any particular dates for the diary, anything we should be thinking about?
Yeah, in terms of investments, there's nothing at this stage that's far enough along for us to be able to talk about, no.
But there are conversations going on behind the scenes.
We continue to look at business development, to look at different opportunities. So we're always talking to people, always looking for what companies could come into the group.
And across all those sectors in all those different countries, there's lots of conversations that have been going on. Let me ask you quickly about dividends, because the yield is less than 1%. Investors are usually hungry for income. What kind of investment would you describe Empresaria as? Do they need to be in it for the long haul?
Well, traditionally it's a capital growth stock. We did increase our dividend by 100% last year, so we understand that investors are looking for dividend yield as well as capital growth. We do have an overall debt position, so for us it's really a balance between increasing our dividend, reducing the overall debt of the group, and also using funds for making investments. So when we look at the dividend, we look at it each year as a board. We look at how the business has performed, how our debt's reduced, and also what opportunities we've got for spending the money to help grow the business. But it's something that we always look at, and we understand that investors are looking for an improved yield.
And investors too, they're also looking for growth in the company.
Absolutely.
And where you're looking with that.
So growth is the growth model of Empresaria is a buy and build model. So we focus on organic growth. As Spencer just said, we are focusing on building bigger brands, bigger size in our companies. But we're also looking at external investments in a selective way to continuously add new potential growth drivers to the business model. So
you're still being selective while you're diverse in different markets, in different countries, and that agility will presumably help you grow. That's what you're hoping, right?
Sure.
Correct, yes.
Well, Joost and Spencer, it's been a pleasure. Thanks ever so much for the update. We could talk all day, but I've got a feeling that we're probably out of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks so much.